With the rise in the return of the Trump voter to my videos, there's been this allegation that I'm reporting fake news and reporting things that are disinformation. Well, I'm going to address that in this video. There is a difference between putting out information you knowingly know is false and putting out analysis of people's behavior and predictions on the possible ramifications of those behaviors. I'm not going to waste a lot of time delineating the difference, but I am going to, just for the sake of Trump voter, in this video, outline what the man has said in his own words as to what he's going to do, and then show how that backs up my allegation that the man is really going to be a darling of the Democrats very soon. I've called him a Republican. I have alleged that he has a completely different motive other than what he has said to his voters, and I can show you in this contract, and I have 4 other tabs I'm going to go through to show you that this guy is not what he seems. Now, the big 3 things that he is going to make him the darling of Democrats are his position on Israel. I know that sounds crazy, but bear with me, I'm going to show you. Tariffs, and the move to single-payer health care. Now, I know that Trump voters are thinking, well, no, wait a minute, that's not right. But let me show you in his own words. So here we go. We're going to go over his contract real quick and go over each of these points and show you why that a lot of this is actually disinformation on his part. Okay, first, propose a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. 75% of the American people have already said that this is something that they want, and they have tried this and they have put it to Congress, and it's been dead on arrival so many times in the last few years, so having this position doesn't make him some kind of a revolutionary. Second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce the federal workforce through attrition, exempting military, public safety, and public health, which accounts for almost half of all federal employees. Third, a requirement that for every new federal regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. That's just completely illogical on its face. So if you want to have a new federal regulation about, say, something to do with cybercrime, you're going to have to find 2 other regulations related to cybercrime, or any 2 regulations regarding other things that have to go away. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, you can't, because you want to pass a new law, have to say there aren't going to be these other 2 laws. Fourth, a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists after they leave government service. I'm not sure how exactly you would enforce that, because after they leave government service, they're no longer under the purview of the government, and a lifetime ban on White House officials lobbying on behalf of foreign governments. If they're in the employ of foreign governments, U.S. laws don't apply. 6, the complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections. Now, in those last 3, we see this big problem with lobbyists. Yet, in his current administration, he has got 8 or 10 lobbyists, and we covered that in another video. And I'll try to put the link to that video down in the description. Okay, 7 actions to protect American workers. Here's where he lines up with the Democrats almost right down the line. Intention to negotiate NAFTA or withdraw from the deal under Article 2205. He's just going to renegotiate it. And what he's trying to do is create nationalist sentiment against foreign workers. And that is a huge Democratic policy. They have been for that for years. I will announce our withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's his nod to China. China didn't want the U.S. involved in that, and since he owes them a ton of money, I'm sure that there's some kind of quid pro quo going on there. Third, I will direct the Secretary of the Treasury to label China a currency manipulator. Now, a lot of his supporters aren't going to know what this means. When any country manipulates a currency, what they normally do is they manipulate it downward to make it more attractive in the currency markets. And China has done this in the past. And I can see why he would want to do that. But recently, in fact, in the last year or 2, China's been doing the exact opposite. They've been manipulating their currency to make it more expensive. So I don't know exactly what he's thinking he's going to accomplish with that. Fourth, Secretary of Commerce, U.S. Trade Representative to identify all foreign trading abuses that unfairly impact American workers. Once again, that's a Democrat position. I will lift the restriction on the production of $50 trillion worth of job-producing American energy reserves, including shale, oil, natural gas, and clean coal. Once again, those are union jobs. So that's a Democrat thing. Lift the Obama-Clinton roadblocks and allow vital energy infrastructure projects, Keystone Pipeline. That's already been dealt with. If he wants to readdress it, then, I suppose that looks great for, his supporters. 7, cancel billions in payments to UN climate change programs and use the money to fix America's water and environmental infrastructure. Once again, union jobs. Restore security and constitutional rule of law. Cancel every unconstitutional executive action, memorandum, and order issued by President Obama. Okay, is Donald Trump the final arbiter of what is constitutional and was what not constitutional? Can he just say, I don't believe it's constitutional, therefore? No, has to go before the court. So, he's going to have to, and here it is, number 2, begin the process of selecting a replacement for Justice Scalia. I wonder who that's going to be. Cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities. They can turn around and say, okay, that's fine. We're just going to expel and get rid of enough federal employees in our states to cover the money. So that'll actually cost state jobs. Suspend immigration from terror-prone regions where vetting cannot safely occur. All vetting of people coming into our country will be considered extreme vetting. Okay. If that's something he wants to do, that's fantastic, but I don't know that he can do it unilaterally as president. Okay, Middle Class Tax Relief and Simplification Act. I could read that whole thing, but middle class is something that has been synonymous with Democrat policies and desires for the last 25 years. In the Offshoring Act, I have a different tab that's going to cover this. Establish tariffs to discourage companies from laying off their workers in order to relocate to other countries. That's been a big Democrat position. Energy and Infrastructure Act. That's very vague what he's saying here. It's revenue neutral. I doubt that. School Choice and Education Opportunity Act. One of the few things that I actually agree with Donald Trump on. You can read this for yourself. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time. I'm already 7 minutes into the video. Repeal and Replace Obamacare Act. I have a tab to deal with this, where he talks here, where he wants health savings accounts, but in another interview he says something entirely different. Affordable Child Care and Elder Care Act. And, I don't think that's a bad idea, but once again, that's something that could be probably, 80% of America would love that. And Illegal Immigration Act. Fully funds the constructions of a wall on our southern border. Ask the Chinese how that worked out. Restore Community Safety Act. Surging crime, drugs, and violence by creating a task force. Read bureaucracy. More Washington bureaucracy. That's all this is going to do. Restoring National Security Act. Rebuilds our military, eliminating the defense sequester. I'm for military, so if anything they can do to help out the VA, I'm all for. Clean up corruption in Washington, enact new ethics reforms to drain the swamp. You mean other than his Goldman Sachs bankers that it's just ridiculous that he's put in his cabinet. It's just insane. So anyway, the big 3. Okay, we talked about Obamacare. Okay, and him wanting to replace it, but it says right here, just days ago, President-elect Trump promised insurance for everybody. He is going to move this country towards single-payer health care, I promise you. The only way you have insurance for everybody, and when the president promises it, that means single-payer health care. Health savings accounts don't do that. They don't give insurance for everybody. So this is number 1 on his let's make friends with the Democrats agenda. Number 2, the GOP is going to hate him on this. His problem with the tariffs, his issue with this is going to be, and the GOP has already signaled they're not going to support him on this because they believe in free trade, and that crosses borders, and that's why they were, if you remember back to 92, Ross Perot in his debate with Bush and Clinton, who were both for NAFTA at the time, he said it was the biggest quote in the world. So you're going to hear a giant sucking sound of jobs out of this country. And it's, this is going to be a fight he is going to be at war with the GOP his entire time with over these tariff regulations that he wants to put into place. Now, here we go. This is the one where most people are going to say, what the heck's going on? This is March 2016 in a speech to AIPAC. Okay, now, I could do an entire video on Israel, but here's a quote from the speech, an excerpt. When people ask why, it's because that's not how you make a deal. Deals are made when parties come together. He's speaking of Israel and Palestine here. They come to a table and they negotiate. Each side must give up something. Each side must give up something. Its values, I mean. We have to do something where there's value in exchange for something that it requires. That's what a deal is. Now, anybody who knows the story of Israel and Palestine knows that Israel doesn't have to give up a damn thing. Israel was attacked back in the 60s, and they handed the Arabs their own ass and pushed them back damn near to Africa. And that's why this nation of Israel is what it is today and as large as it is. And now there's this argument that says that Israel just needs to be nice to the Palestinians and give up land for really no reason. But Donald Trump is saying right here they do, because he says each side must give up something. So in order for the Israelis to live peaceably in their own country, away from terror attacks, they have to give up land. And this is what he's going to do, and I'm going to call it right here. He is going to negotiate a deal with the Israelis and the Palestinians that gives the Temple Mount, which is holy to both religions, to the Israelis. However, the Israelis are going to be required to withdraw back to the pre-1967 borders before the war, before they were attacked by the Arabs. Those borders are indefensible. It gives up the Golan Heights, it gives up the West Bank, and the Arabs are going to agree to this because there's a rule in Islamic law that says you never have to honor or acknowledge any deals you make with infidels. So they're going to go ahead and make this deal. And Israel's going to be under enormous pressure to take it. Now, there is a group of Jews, a group of extreme right-wing Jews that have come to power in Israel. And they're what they call Zionist or Messianic Jews. And they believe the rebuilding of the third temple is going to signal the return of Jesus Christ. Now, I know it's strange to think of a Jew that actually believes in Jesus Christ, but they're these people. They're Messianic Jews. And this is going to be the beginning of this. And this is what he's going to do. And he's going to be heralded as this wonderful peacemaker in the Middle East, doing what no one has ever done before. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if once he does this, that he's going to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You mark my words. I know it seems like a strange thing to predict from the man, but this is what he's going to do. So, those were the big three. Tariffs, Obamacare going to single payer, and his stance to get Israel to withdraw. So, last thing here we're going to do. I'm just going to play this for you because this is the man in his own words. And you can listen to him. It's in an interview with Wolf Blitzer. If I can get it to play here after being in the background for so long.
More as a Democrat or a Republican?
Well, you'd be shocked if I said that in many cases I probably identify more as a Democrat. And I think you'd probably be shocked.
On social issues?
You know, it's interesting. I've been now around long. You know, I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. The economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, I mean, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats
Well,
than
it
the
certainly
Republicans.
did well under Clinton.
Well,
But I wouldn't suggest it was so great under Jimmy Carter.
That's true. That's
If you
true.
remember
That's
the
true.
interest rates.
No, I know. It's Jimmy Carter was not in the same thing, but I know. It's Jimmy Carter was not in the same thing, but certainly we had some very good economies under Democrats as well as Republicans. But we've had some pretty bad disaster under the Republicans.
Would you like representing the United States in a deal with Iran? With
No, this is modern day Trump.
Well, I think you have different people. I think Rudy would do a very good job. He'd be very much more militant. I think Hillary would have. Hillary's always surrounded herself with very good people. I think Hillary would do a good job. I think Mitt Romney would be very good. I think different people, for different reasons, could do the job. But the key is they have to get the right people to negotiate. I mean, we have a bunch of third-rate people doing our negotiating.
Okay, this is a little bit longer video than I normally do, but I just wanted to cover this to show Trump supporter that you can go to this man's policies. You can look into his past. I'll try to find a link not only to the video where I cover his other issues with the Democrats, but also one of him in 1991. You can see him railing against Ronald Reagan for the 1986 Tax Act. So anyway, day before the inauguration, and a little bit longer video, but I think it was worth it to cover everything that this man said he's going to do. And you can refer back to this video in the next coming months to see if I was right or if I was wrong. So thank you. Have a great day. Like, share, subscribe. Appreciate all the support.